Okay, and we're live on Fun Frolicking Friday.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm so excited. We have an amazing new guest. So this show is streamed on multiple platforms, on YouTube and all over Facebook. I am Candace, and that was Karezza. And we have Om here with us. So, and thank you to all of you out there watching. Thank you to Love Coach Academy for continuing hosting us. And if you don't know who Love Coach Academy is, definitely get on over to their page. There's many different shows and events there. Today we are going to be talking about what, in short, I call dark tantra. And in long form, we're talking about BDSM. We're talking about spirituality. We're talking about sexuality. We're talking about emotionality. Going into the depths of the entirety of our human experience, really. So I'm not going to give it all away. I definitely want to introduce you guys to Karezza and Om. I have a lot of energy moving through me. My brain's like ping pong in a million and one different directions, because we have some great stuff going on with today's show. And then on Sunday, we're going to have a 90-minute guided experience on this topic. And stay tuned, because at halftime today during the show, I will give you a little taster of that experience. And if you have any questions, you can chime in the comment box. It'll come across for us, and we can speak into it here on the show. And whether you're watching this live or the replay, you can still comment. Please do comment. Let us know what comes up for you. And if you feel like you have people on your page and friends that could benefit from this conversation, click the little share button. Yes, yes, yes. So with that, Karezza, who are you and why are you here talking about this?
Hi everyone. I'm Karezza, the founder and creator of the Intimate Playground. So I help singles and couples expand, evolve, and become more orgasmic, live more orgasmically through play and eco-sexuality. I'm using eco-sexual or eco-conscious products along with engaging in conscious play. So really excited to be here and explore the dynamics of Tantra and BDSM. I'm not really that aware of Tantra combined with BDSM and Kink, but I'm very aware and I live very, whole and with awareness in all my life. So I'm sure it will be a pleasure to find out more. And here we have, as a special guest, Om Rupani. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Om. I teach workshops in BDSM and Tantra. I teach workshops in man-woman relating. So this is a area of my study, area of my passion, where I've been exploring and teaching for over a decade. So looking forward to this conversation. BDSM certainly has, I feel it inherently has a lot of the elements that Tantra does. So to me, it's kind of an easy bridge. So I guess we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. And I'm so happy you're here. Because like both these things, Tantra and BDSM, can be like elusive and misunderstood. And people see it as something outside of them, something that, Tantra teachers have or know, And what I really like to highlight and bring to light in all these experiences and rooms and events is how it really shows up in everyday life. How Tantra and BDSM really is happening all around us all the time. And we can make a conscious choice to really hone in on what's happening and create some magic with that. Create meaningful healing experiences with ourselves and the world around us. It's kind of how I see it, Yeah, yeah. And so for all of you out there watching, please do, have you ever heard of these two words put together, dark tantra? Have you ever explored what they would call conscious kink or tantric BDSM? I mean, there's so many different words we throw out there. But they're really talking about life experiences and not just physical and sexual. Yes, there's the physicality and the sexuality. But there's so much more going on that contributes to that can enhance that. And one of my other big beliefs around all of this is that whether we're aware of it or not, we are often seeking emotional, psychological, spiritual healing in our sexual relations, in our emotional relations. Some of our fantasies or fetishes, things that we desire, are like these cravings, this deep emotional need, not just a fun kink. You know what I mean? It's a legitimate need for our soul, for our evolution. Yeah. How does that land on you guys?
You're talking to me or the audience? I'm all for it.
All of you.
I'm all for it. Yeah, I agree with every point. We could. I think we could make a separate. I think like 6 points there. We could a separate podcast for each one. Yeah. Do you want me to speak on it? I don't know how you want to. Do you want me to speak on any of these things, or
yeah, whatever.
how do you want to proceed?
Through.
I think what came to mind. One of the things that came to mind when you said dark tantra, and what even constitutes dark tantra. I mean, I can give you kind of what comes up for me, which is if you believe in the practice of tantra, if you believe it is kind of a legitimate spiritual path, then you're suggesting, well, if you're doing tantra, you're doing awareness-based practice, a consciousness-based practice. And if you're doing that, then what is the dark part? Well, the dark part would be usually things that people would think don't belong in the light. And the dark tantra would say everything needs to belong in the light because we have it. It's in here, so we have to deal with it. So leaving it out really doesn't help. So whatever aspects are in us, they need to be integrated, as dark as they may be. So better to integrate them within some practice that allows them space to come out without being completely destructive. Because they're going to come out one way or the other. They're not getting these karmic knots are not getting resolved on their own. They have to come out one way or the other. So either you go in there with a practice and say, here's a playground for you to come out and explore, or you let it run its course. And usually when you let it run its course, it just leaks out of people because it requires passage. It always requires passage. And I think BDSM is brilliant at not shying away from those dark knots in our system and finding absolutely brilliant structures and passageways, permission fields, for those dark areas to have some expression, for them not to be buried in shame and the mostly in the energy that this needs to be hidden because this is ugly. Great BDSM play does not shy away from ugly, right? If you see erotic pictures of submissives, the hardest pictures are when the submissive is looking really ugly. That's when you know he or she has lost their shit. And there is no filter left. There is no screen left. There is no identity left. And it's hot. And you know that's a genuine moment. Right? Real sex doesn't look like screaming porn stars.
No.
Real sex looks like your ugliest orgasm plus ugliest crying face.
Yeah.
With snot and drool and every hole leaking something.
Yeah.
So, and I think people know this to some degree because truthfully, even if you stay away from BDSM kink, everybody knows that even quote unquote great vanilla sex looks like that.
Oh yeah.
You may never pick up a whip or a chain or never tie anybody up. If all you're into is normal sex, even you know when that normal sex hits those transcendental edges, you look like you're coming undone. there is that complete loss of identity, and the maintenance of the identity falls away temporarily. And it's beautiful. It's really hot.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and I
that,
think
yeah,
yeah. Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, I love what you say. Like coming undone. Yeah, beautiful. And it's really about also, I think BDSM in general or kink is also about celebrating the all sides of us, not just the happy, like peppy, thing of that, all of life is happy and go lucky. That there are many facets, and to be in love with pain, to be in love with our fear, to be in love with our sadness, as well as our happiness and all the good feelings as well, and as a whole, and to be accepted and loved and seen as whole rather than what we want to see.
I
Yeah.
totally agree. I feel, when you say things like dark tantra, dark kink, the brilliant Carolyn Elliott always comes to mind because this has been one of her greatest areas of mastery and contribution. And I think one of the biggest things that she urges people to realize, one of the many, many things, but one thing I particularly appreciated her for, is to get people to admit that they're emotional masochists.
Yeah.
It is like one of the biggest taboo things for people to integrate, that I fucking love the emotional pain.
Yeah.
Why? Because if the pain is going to be real, you have to pretend you don't want it. And you keep generating it day after day, year after year. And Carolyn Elliott will hold up a mirror and say, stop wasting my time. Stop wasting your time. This is who you are. This is what you want. Get on with it. And it is a big mind fuck to say, I
Mm,
actually want this. I want to feel abandoned. Yeah, you're not done with the energy. You're still playing
yep.
with it. I want to feel rejected. How is that possible? I don't know. Here are 20 people willing to say yes to you, and you're chasing the one who's saying no. I don't know. Go figure. What about these 20? Oh, all boring. All boring. If only I could have this one, I'd be happy. Really?
Yep.
No. So,
Mm.
and that is a very big circle to draw around your experiences to realize, yep, even this is my creation. Even this horrible pain that I keep complaining about is actually something I'm quote unquote getting off on at some level,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's high practice. That is really high practice to be able to do that.
Mm,
What it reminds me of in this moment, like there's something around this that's very alive for me. Like these last couple of days, I have felt like this overwhelming urge to scream and cry. Like it's like little girl, like tangents. Like I am so done being an adult. I don't want to make decisions. Like just F it all right? And so, I'm recognizing this, and there's this part it's like, okay, we need to create some conscious play, some conscious let go. And there's ways I can, bring BDSM into this, to help this little girl. But,
Yeah.
really letting her scream, letting her tantrum, giving her that space. Yeah. 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 Yes. Humanity. um, and the tantric component that I feel like takes this to another level is bringing it into the mind body awareness. Really coming into presence, Tantra, as a Sanskrit word, has many translations, but the one that I often go to means to weave. And so I feel like it means we are weaving together all these parts of ourselves that sometimes are separated or we don't have access to anymore.
Right.
Energetically, emotionally. Then you add BDSM to it, and the elements of your psyche, in your spirit, and your emotionality that you can get to, just Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just a little example of a session with a client. And they're not into BDSM and kink too much, but they understood the art, and they felt what I was putting out there. And it was a couple, but they both had entirely different needs, and so I did different sessions. What I remember most is working with the female who was having a lot of issues with their body. And I take on the dom role, and professionally, that's how I, heal from, or the divinatrix, whatever you want to call it. And at this time, what I did is like essentially psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, while engaging and putting her body into positions, making her surrender to her sexiness, making her firm, demanding that she love herself, making her say certain things. And if I didn't hear her say it right, giving her a little reminder. And we're like tripping. We were talking about this yesterday. We're tricking our mind. So like these emotional pain points, when you bring in pleasure and you bring in a physical, even pain sensation, or, like we talked about, you can get something as simple as a fork, or your nails. And even just taking a nail across your skin, you're going to feel that sensation for a while. Now, you implant a thought into that, and it's expanding its capacity to penetrate through your being. Did I say that in a way that makes sense? I know you guys are understanding what I'm
No, it
saying.
makes complete sense to me. I can share my experience, and very much the use of pain and punishment for good. People don't get this from the outside, but pain and punishment are motivators. They're horses. They make us move, they make us jump, they guide us, and you can use them to move a person in any direction. It doesn't always have to be in the direction of evil. So one of the greatest and most generous things a dom can do in a dom sub dynamic is to find out where the submissive is holding themselves back and say, if you don't move in this area, if you don't make progress in this area where your soul wants to go, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. You're going to have to deal with me. I am the scary motherfucker you're going to have to deal with if you don't get out of your goddamn rut. Right? That can be a very generous thing to do. People usually hire coaches to do that. Dominatrix have been performing that function for their clients for the longest time. People don't understand this dynamic that you ask. So you're essentially hiring, quote unquote, hiring, whether you're paying them or not, you're hiring the dom's will as fuel, because your will alone is not powerful enough to get you to get off your ass and do something. You are stuck someplace. So you recruit a dom and say, I need the power of your will behind this goal that I need to accomplish. And the only way the dom can do that is usually through pain and punishment. Oftentimes punishment could be any times. Every day you miss practicing the piano, you owe me $1,000. And if you keep to that, if the container is solid and you stay in integrity to that container, you're going to start missing those $1,000 pretty quickly. That's somebody doming you and staying on track in your discipline. If you agree to that game, whether it's 10 lashes on the ass, or you donate $1,000 to the party, that political party that you detest. I've seen people play that game. You have no idea how hard it would be for a blue state person to take the punishment of writing a donation to Donald Trump because they fucked up and they broke their agreement. I've seen people play these games. One time would be enough. Never again. I can't believe I have to send this check. That's the way a dom can mindfuck you. Hold yourself back one more time in your sex, $500 to the political party you hate. They're fun games to play, and you can use all the energies, so-called dark energies of compulsion, of force, of threat and pain, but benevolently, because you're doing it within a container of consent, and you're doing it to move the submissive in the direction the submissive wants to move. You're not deciding where they want to go. This Dom, usually it's best if the Dom actually doesn't give a rat's ass where the submissive wants to go. They don't have a personal agenda. Submissive comes to you and says, this is where I am stuck. And you're like, okay, what can we do to get you off your ass in this area? So exactly what you are basically telling that woman, if you don't start owning your desire, you're going to have to deal with me. Right? And it's great. My wonderful collaborator and mentor, Lori Handlers, tells her own story in this area, where she at one point shared with her current lover all the ways that she had held back herself sexually because her mother used to slut shame her. And her boyfriend, lover / Dom immediately said, from every time from now on, when I see you not completely claiming your pleasure, I'm spanking your ass. And she said, okay. That's hot. Right? Every time I hear you ordering short, every time I hear you feel you're holding back, punishment for you. And you play these games by consent, and they're great games to play.
Yeah, or even when someone's whispering, it reminds me of like people that even if I'm just doing a Tantra session, and I'm trying to get someone to speak into their pleasures or start vocalizing their breath. Just a little reminder anywhere will just like push that out. It could be so simple, and we miss it.
And these are fun games to play. They're really hot. If your erotic life is starting to look dull, add some games in there.
Oh, yeah.
And, like I shared, and in some of my videos and pictures, you can, get some awesome, fun toys, right? But you could just look around your home, okay? I'm betting you there is some fun, cool stuff that you can play with. So we have a whisk right here. This, okay? This could be really fun. And then this one is like a silicone like baster, which can be like more soft and fun. Yeah. And I was thinking about like fork. I have some metal tongs I've been using for years on people. Yeah. So
a good spatula will always come in handy. You should keep one by your bedside.
Yep. I was gonna say, yeah, I think that's where my spatula is. It's on my bed over there, that way. So I don't know, has anybody's been commenting? And to all of you out there, what's alive for you? What's come up around this conversation? Where does it relate to you? And if you have any questions, just put them in there. Yeah.
I had a comment from Gaia. Venus, she said, I love the conversation. And Subhash Chanda said, love, only love.
Thank you. Yeah. Gaia, if y'all don't remember, Gaia was on our show with us here a couple weeks ago. I think we'll be getting more Gaia with us on Clubhouse and whatnot. Gaia rocks. I'm so happy you're here. Yeah. So how are you guys feeling? What do you feel like? Is it halftime too?
It's almost 1:20.
Okay.
We still have time. Yeah, I'm loving the conversation. I also think it's important to note how BDSM / kink can be traumatic, can actually affect someone traumatically. Like it can be a negative thing. Like if you don't add the conscious part to it. Like I've experienced play parties in New York years ago myself, and I feel that I did enter a world where I really didn't know, and I was more of a voyeur then, but actually I did experience a couple of things, and I really felt though that it was not consensual. It was more manipulated. I wouldn't say abusive, but it was definitely not consensual and manipulated. So I think it's important to note that people can use it against you in certain circles and actually create, we talk about trauma. You can, heal trauma through BDSM and Tantra and Kink. But also I believe it can cause trauma if it's not executed properly. And it's just really important to know the foundation, the meaning of what it is and what it entails for people out there, maybe that are just newbies to what it is.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a very big area. It's a kind of very, very big stumbling block and kind of, pit hole for, especially for new explorers. And I would say I can give you my best understanding on how to navigate this in kind of a shorthand, which is the cornerstone always is about consent, right? So if catharsis happens in the BDSM scene, it happens when you genuinely bring consent into an area, into a tight area in your system that got tight through an event of non-consent. If you had a place where something traumatic happened to you, if you had an event, your parent spanked you against your will, you got molested, you got attacked, all of that happened without your yes. Those things leave contractions in our systems, they leave trauma in our systems. And the magic of BDSM is oftentimes if you go to exactly those same locations willfully with a clear head, saying, I know I'm visiting those tight spots and I'm going there with a yes. And this person who's helping me take me there is my friend. They are not the traumatizer. They're actually helping me go and clean this up. You can really create beautiful catharsis.
Yeah.
And you create trauma in BDSM by doing exactly the opposite, which is on the surface, you may think you're in consent, but on the inside, you're not. So once again, it's the non-consent inside of you that is creating the trauma, that is creating the wounding, because you're doing something you don't want to be doing. You're saying yes to it, but you shouldn't be saying yes to it. And these things, they don't always happen maliciously, right? The Dom could have the best of intentions, and if the submissive is unclear and says, yes, yes, I'm fine, green, keep going, but is not fine on the inside, then they're essentially, they are generating their own trauma. It is not the Dom's fault. The Dom is completely ready to listen to your safe words, has no investment, happy to stop at any point, is giving you what you have asked for, but you are not clear, right? The submissive is not clear. And the other way it can happen is you do have a malignant Dom, sociopath, psychopath, manipulative, who is operating who's basically not operating cleanly, who's not in a field of clean consent. So, but I think that the core part always is this discrepancy. Are you completely in consent? If you are, you're golden. If you're not, you're going to create trauma, because it's happening against, whatever is going into your system is hitting your no. What it should be hitting is your yes. And at that collision between outside force and your no, that generates trauma. No, 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 no. And the responsibility on the submissive is, when you feel that collision, call yellow, stop the scene. The moment you start finding your Dom wrong, the moment something happens in your brain where you think you're no longer in consent, or you're falling into victimhood, saying, why is this happening to me? Nothing's happening to you. You're in a consensual scene. And if you don't have that clarity anymore, call yellow and stop the scene, because you're going down the shitter from that point onwards. You stay that for even 3 minutes and you may not be able to recover from that scene, because you will take a dive into your past traumas, because that's what that gate opens. All the other times things happen to you when you were in a no. All the frequencies are the same. Doesn't really matter what the event is. But the structure of it, the geometry of it, the best I've been able to observe is this dance of yes and no. Are you in a yes internally, or are you in a no?
Right. Yeah. I think another big piece, on that is like, if you're in a scene with someone or you're about to get more intimate than you previously have been, if like the container hasn't been clearly created with what you are doing and what you're not doing, I mean, it's very important to get really clear. And also, play a game of yes and no at first.
Yeah,
There's a few
that's
different
highly,
options. So
highly
you can,
recommended. Yeah,
yeah, so you can
agree.
really get to know and hear each other.
Yeah, keep the submissive in verbal expression. Make them ask for every stroke. They won't get confused. They won't go into their gray zone. They won't freeze out. And if you don't get a yes, if you don't get, may I have another? Thank you so much for that. Can I have more? Stop as the dom.
Yeah.
I recommend that kind of etiquette for everybody, especially if you're playing with people for the first, second, third, fourth time. You don't really know their system, because a lot of people freeze. The reason these traumas happen is because people already have trauma, and when sensation gets high, they freeze. And if the dom doesn't know, the submissive freezes, that's really a gap in their communication. Because the submissive could be quiet and happy, or they could be quiet and in their trauma. You won't know the difference, right? So one way to safeguard this is make sure the submissive is not quiet. If he or she is asking for the next stroke, the next hit, don't give it to them. Make them beg for it. That will let them hear their own desire, right? But if they've gone into a zone of silence, that's a danger sign, right?
Yeah.
Because
I feel like
that's what people look like when they go into contraction and shock. They can't talk anymore. They can't articulate. They're probably beyond too much. They're in too much fear to even be able to articulate. Part of their brain says even communicating now is dangerous, because usually it was when real trauma was happening. Screaming was dangerous. Complaining was dangerous, right? So you fall down a hole and you don't communicate because communication is now a danger. But if the submissive has gone down that hole, your scene has already gone off the rails, right?
I feel like having these conversations and really getting to know, like, especially for me as a blind person, like, you can't hide your feelings from me. I can hear hesitation. If I hear any hesitation, it doesn't matter how many more times you say yes after that. Like, we need to talk, and Karezza brought up something, I feel like it's like her experience was at an event. I've had similar experiences. So if you are going to explore and you're going to go to a party or an event, do your research. So for me, I have learned if there's an event that involves alcohol, it's not my container. It's not where I feel safe playing.
Yeah.
I don't fit into the typical swinger scene or some typical BDSM scenes. Just because not all these scenes and private clubs or events or small communities have the same morale around consciousness in kink.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm a pretty introverted person myself, but apart from not really being a party person, I really encourage my students not to indulge too much in pickup scenes, because they're inherently susceptible to this lack of communication. It doesn't even always have to be malice. It's just that you don't know anybody, you're at a party, things are noisy, some people are drunk. Here's this guy offering some rope scenes. You're curious, you can barely hear each other when you're communicating your boundaries. Come on, you all been there, you know what those places are like. And I'm like, this. So again, these are all, you're laying yourself, you're creating a lot of possibility for breakdown.
Yeah, I've
seen
sensitive
people
who
may be there for good reasons. There might be a dom there just offering people light floggings. They're not being evil, they're not trying to take advantage of anybody, but the communication channels are not that deep, and it's noisy, and the submissive is facing the other direction. You can't hear anybody at a party when their mouth is in the other direction, and the dom is here 2 or 3 feet behind them swinging the flogger. right? It's like this is a recipe for bad communication leading to bad breakdowns. So I really say people, even if you're gonna do pickup scenes, really do really light scenes, really playful and light scenes, just for a little taste. Don't try to go for the big experience there. That's really not the place for it.
No.
Or like my events. I feel like my events are very safe. Like, um, we create a conscious container. There's an opening ceremony, and you cannot get in the door unless you've been there. So
Right.
everybody is on the same playing field, and there is no alcohol and no.
Well, I think that's great. I think that's
Yeah.
great to create those containers.
I have certain things that I do, and at my events, what I would call frolic fairies, so to say, that have their eyes on the container, and to really make sure people are honoring the container. And thankfully, in 10 plus years of doing this, I've only had to ask one person. There's only been one person that wasn't able to come, and the only issue was their ability to communicate and a literal mental health thing. And then, so I have different tiers of events, right? And then there was someone else who they're fine at an event where clothing was left on. But if it was an event where clothing wasn't, and I mean, people had that option, they weren't ready for that. I gave them the option to some session work to learn, because they were just new. They didn't know. There was no malicious. They really just had no idea, but they just wanted to play and have fun and not talk about it. But that's what happened twice in 10 years. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Good. So it's about halftime.
Yeah.
Candace.
So, so we're going to do a little quickie practice. So I am really all about the visceral experience. I love talking. I have a big head, but the visceral experience is how we really understand this stuff, because there is no one definition. Only you know what you need. And so we're going to go inside for a little practice, exploring sensation, and a little meditation where I'm going to invite you into some metaphysical BDSM. And this is a little taster of the experiences that we'll be doing on Sunday, which will be more interactive and playful and longer. So come into your breath, come into your body. I'm trying to find this one thing I want. If you have an item near you that you want to explore with sensation, something a little soft or something that could provide something a little bit more stingy or firm, like this is just a little plastic butter knife. And that's what I'm going to use right now. So closing your eyes, going inside, feeling your breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Bringing your attention and awareness into your heart. Maybe even placing a hand on your heart. I want to invite you to look inside. Turn your third eye inwards and down. And look for the darkness. Look for the pain, the sadness. Where are you hurting in your heart? And allow yourself to go there and feel that hurt. Feel that pain. Where are you longing to be loved? Where do you feel wounded by love? Where do you feel heartbroken? Who? Why? How? Or you can even just envision darkness and black. Envision what does pain look like? See it in your heart. Everyone has it. And then take that item, me, with this plastic butter knife. And as I breathe into my heart and breathe into this pain, I envision I'm cutting open pathway from my heart to release. As I cut down my chest, I see black blood oozing. Imagine your heart crying, releasing, letting go, and breathing into that. Feel the sensation of an opening. With each breath, with each stroke, cut, sensation, you become more and more open and free to feel that pain, to release that pain. Become more deeply connected to that pain so that you can understand it, feel it, heal it, let it go. Bring it into the light. Take a couple more breaths, letting the jaw drop, letting out sound on the exhale. Feeling the leftover sensation on the skin, on your heart. Noticing the difference. And if your sound could be an extra catalyst for releasing, for opening, giving voice to that pain, giving voice to your release. Letting sensation be a transmuter. I'd love to hear from Karezza and Om. If any of you out there were able to partake now or later, please do share in the comments. What did you see? How are you feeling right now? What was that like for you? Karezza, Om. I'm just holding my heart and holding everybody's heart right now as I listen and receive and feel all of you feeling you.
Karezza,
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, today I actually used a fork. I usually use really soft, like silks things, but I really felt like using something more deeper and stronger today. And it actually really, I felt a massive opening and shift that I never thought I would feel. And it really like cracked me open to, like you were saying about the dark coming into the light, and really feeling the pain like dissipate and really allowing more pleasure to come in, and a feeling of also wanting to just be held for what I'm feeling, like, and what I am, just in the pain of everything, like just wanting to be held and accepted for that part of me, because a lot of people with me in relationship run away from me when I'm too much, or too emotional, too crazy, or whatever. So that's that feeling of just being like accepted and held in that space. And also allowing more pleasure and lightness to come through after feeling, you know, the pain or the more grittiness of the skin and the depth that it holds to release. So, yeah.
Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. And I want to cry, and in the most pleasurable, orgasmic way right now. So thank you. Oh,
I just followed your your guided meditation and kind of let it penetrate, and it was just invitation to go a bit more into the heart center and know what, just check in with what's happening there. And I think the longer I listened to your voice, it was just like almost like offering tenderness to the pain that's there, and kind of having a little bit of empathy and space for it. So I think that was a lovely offering, lovely meditation to just go in there and give that area a little bit of space, a little bit of breathing room. So thank you for that.
yay. Yay. And so that was what, just a couple minutes? And I mean, this is stuff you guys can do on your own at home. There are so many ways that you can create like really healing moments with yourself, for yourself. Now, I create these moments for people in person, and I make custom personalized videos after we have a session. Karezza has her own magic. I'd love to hear, what are some of the, I know both Om and Karezza, create experiences around sensation exploration and BDSM that are really healing. What are some of your top tips around self-care and tantric BDSM department?
I think some of the biggest support people often need is in grounding. So I often like to give people learn to ground your own energies, because all of us have a tendency to get in our head and kind of spin out and kind of start feeling really, really alone. Like all the problems of the universe are only ours to solve, and we are simply not equipped to solve them. And I think we get very ungrounded from bigger resources. So I think the reminders to simply come into your body, to connect with the earth, to put your feet on the ground, to put your weight on the ground, and to kind of have old-fashioned faith. It used to be faith. We used to pray to God because when we were feeling overwhelmed, and I think that was really a smart thing to do. Because when you're feeling overwhelmed, your brain should automatically go to, I need to reach out to something bigger than myself. And I think a lot of people have stopped doing that because they have lost their traditional religion. So I'm like, you don't need traditional religion, but grounding with Mother Earth could be a really non-controversial way of doing it. Connect yourself to something bigger, ask for help and support from something bigger, and trust a little bit. And in that trust, kind of allow your noisy and turbulent mind and inner container to rest a little bit. Because otherwise it has a tendency to keep spinning out of control. So I think that can be it's a needed solo practice, because someone may not always be around to ground you, or if you have somebody in your life that does it for you, great, but you really need to have that particular tool you need to have in your self-care kit.
Bare feet in the dirt. Very
Bare
simple.
feet in the dirt is great. Connecting with the earth
Very
is great.
simple.
Getting in
Not
water
hard,
is great.
not going to take much.
Yeah, getting in water is really great.
Yeah.
Taking a bath is great. If you're near a body of water, going in there is really wonderful. And going in nature and barefoot on grass, all of that can be really therapeutic.
I'm both me and Karezza are big on ecosexuality. Like, I love wrapping my legs around a tree, like giving my yoni a hug from the tree. I love face planting the earth. I think especially because I'm blind, like smelling things is so big for me.
Yeah.
So I just like I put my third eye and my nose right in, like I'm kissing it, you know.
But it's not the easiest thing to do, but if you have ever done it, where people offer these therapeutic muds, if you've ever just allowed yourself to get submerged in mud, that truly is like returning to the earth's embrace. It is amazingly grounding.
Yeah. Oh.
So if you can create a pile of clean mud, you can put yourself in.
Oh yeah.
It'll be as good as a jacuzzi as far as
Yeah.
the grounding
Oh, I
energy.
As I do, I make my own little mud. I make mood mud, I call it. I take dirt from my yard because I don't have a bathtub, so I have to improvise.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, Karezza.
Yeah, so one of my biggest things is I love to create games. And one of I would say, like, if you really want to enter into kink or BDSM as a novice, as a first timer, I would start with, having like the 5 sense game, like where one's blindfolded and then your lover, feeds you, touches you, and you can you can be as creative as you want with all the 5 senses. But in that, you create a beginning, a middle, and end. So in the beginning, you would have like a pre-session. What comes up for you? What are you feeling? What are your boundaries? What don't you want? What kind of, foods maybe you're allergic to, or things that bother you that are off limits. So you really can begin to trust a little bit, I mean, you might not trust 100%, but at least you have an understanding of each other and receiving and giving. And then you also have the process, the game. And if something comes up, maybe you stop or you say a word or whatever your rules are.
Sorry.
It's okay. And then the end, you have a post session where you both calm down and maybe reflect about what happened. So it's all structured. There's this kind of ritual where I feel it helps people, for instance, in the neurodivergent sphere, where maybe you have autism or Asperger's. I know it's a big thing out there. And maybe that kind of confines a space that, a beginning and an end, and it makes you really get in the moment, really, like you said, get grounded as well. And that the rules, and that's so important. Otherwise, then, you could be out wherever you are and then you lose yourself. You don't know what you're feeling or you're not aware and you get, I don't know, it's too much. It gets too much in your body and you just freak out and you don't feel safe. So I think that's really important to start. Yeah.
A container, in essence, like we will be exploring. That's one of the things that we do in our clubhouse rooms. We often explore the 5 senses game, and we put a different spin on it each time, depending on the topic. But a solid container creates safety, like around intimacy and play. Like it's just so important to have that container. So on that topic, we're probably close, right?
It is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So please do join us if you want a good deep dive. We're going to have a 90-minute interactive, completely by donation, completely free. If you want to make a donation, great. We'd appreciate it, but you don't have to. Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Clubhouse. And we are going to launch our first paid donation event around Halloween. So keep watch and definitely join my mailing list on my website, Tantric Pass or templeoffrolic.com, so you can stay in the loop And link up and follow us on social media. Myself, Candace-Temple of Frolic, YouTube, Twitter, Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook. Really stay in the loop. And what do you got going on right now? And how do people stay with you?
I'm teaching intensive long workshops on Zoom these days, hoping to resume in-person workshops soon, but everything kind of has stopped in person for now. So I have a course for men called Creating a Dominant Man, which is open on a rolling enrollment basis. And then I'm going to be having 2 more courses coming online this winter. One of them is in BDSM training, and the other one is for women who want to explore their submissive archetype, called the Masterfully Submissive Woman.
Can I be a volunteer sub for training?
Yes, yes, you can.
Yeah, me too.
Offer accepted.
Are they going to be trained for my inner child screaming brat because she's ready?
Well, we really do parent-child play. It's a very big section in the BDSM training. It's a very fertile ground. Everybody needs access to their child archetype. So it's a very rich area of exploration. And it doesn't have to, people when think parent-child archetype, the first thing that comes to mind is something kinky, sexual, incestuous, but that really is a very small subset of parent-child play. There's so much tenderness in there. It doesn't have to be sexual at all. Everybody has incomplete things in their child archetype. So accessing that child archetype to role play and BDSM play can be a really, really fertile place to explore. So yeah.
Exciting and scary. You have to talk more. Karezza, what about you? Is there anything else I missed, or what do you got going on and you want to tell people about? I know if you guys don't know, Karezza moved to Vermont, so anybody in Vermont, get in touch with her.
Well, I'm thinking in the following year, I'm going to lead people on eco-sexual journeys in the mountains of Vermont. I actually got a first client that's really interested. And I'm really going down that path and creating more fun and play and eco and nature and getting connected and living more orgasmically with nature, getting connected to everything that is. And the nature accepts us when no one else does, So, and we can be as loud or as quiet or as crazy and whatever emotions come up, they will still accept us. So, that's my passion at the moment. Yeah.
It's really good. You can certainly do some really beautiful rope play in nature. It has its really own frequency.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what was that?
My cat just came running into the room like,
what was that?
He's not happy about something.
Oh no. Oh.
Okay. So it's probably about that time anyways. That might be what he's telling me. So definitely link up and link in, guys. You want to learn more, you want to explore, you want to connect with other people that think like us and want to explore like us. Definitely link up and link in. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you came.
No pleasure. Really Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I hope you get on Clubhouse.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And join us on Tantric Awakening, where we do hold our events. I don't know if you had said Tantric Awakening Clubhouse. So the link, we have an Eventbrite link on Facebook and as well on Tantric Awakening Clubhouse for the event coming up on Sunday. And we'll probably be having some pop-up rooms throughout the time before then, maybe.
Yeah, definitely check out the event page. It has a full write-up. Basically, we pick a theme every week, and then we talk about Tantra and sacred sexuality around that theme. And we'll do our show on Friday, and we do a bunch of pop-ups. And Sunday is our usual day for a big event. But we're going through a transition because we're going to be switching to more paid events versus giving it more free. So,
Yeah.
yay! Thank you, everyone. Is there anything else anybody wants to put out there before we close? Okay.
Yeah.
Bye, world. I hope you enjoyed this little
Bye-bye.
mini journey.
Bye. Have a great weekend.
Bye.